Hello everybody, back again with another build video for the subclassing update. This build was actually quite difficult to make due to a few certain bugs with a few, one skill in particular on MagSorc, plus the raw power difference between genuine MagSorc and subclassing is completely it's just so outrageous, right? Now, what I could do is basically create a complete carry subclassing cancer build, but like I said, that's not me, and I could get 1 million views by creating something astronomically powerful, but that's not me. I like to stay true to playing what I like to play. It's not about views for me, it's providing content to my subscribers who want to play a genuine MagSorc, and I'm here to make it viable for you. And I've took me time with this to counter a bug with a certain skill on MagSorc, and when that's fixed I will alter this build, but for now this is the best build that you can possibly create. That's very, very flexible, and it hits hard, it's tanky, it has a lot of sustain, and I think for a genuine MagSorc build, this is a very good sweet spot, this patch. However, don't expect the same power level as anything else in the game, because MagSorc is not that. MagSorc just doesn't have that raw power anymore. But yes, let's get into the build before I continue yapping forever. So basically, I'll get into it. Lightning Staff of Ancient Grace. Now, what you'll notice is I've got sharpened on the front bar. We are using the brand new mythic item, and I'll explain why in a second when I get to it. This could be changed to extra crit chance because you're using the new mythic, which gives you a lot of critical damage. However, I like the guaranteed damage from sharpened, and when you actually do crit, it hits for harder. So that's why I like sharpened. Shock damage on the front bar. Restoration Staff of Ancient Grace in defending, self-explanatory. Tune in light with prismatic enchant. Since we're not using death dealers, we will have to compensate with the loss of max health by going prismatic. On the big pieces, 1 piece of trainee for the extra health, and Mighty Tune arm comps in pen. Swift changed from trials simply because there's so much corrosive in subclassing. Now, I was fighting a player, never even heard of him, right? You know, I was struggling very hard because he had corrosive up all the time, and he was subclassing. The raw power difference was just insane, and it's like, I'm pretty sure I've destroyed you so many times in Cyrodiil at one point or another, but simply because you've got that raw power now with corrosive, you mechanically basically counter me, and the only way to counter corrosive is by putting Swift on. And there's another thing that'll help, that I'll show you against corrosive as well. By the way, everything is in pen. Everything's in pen because Major Force is running rife with the new mythic, so everything has to be in pen, right? Swift with weapon and spell damage. I will explain why I have a lot of weapon and spell damage in a moment. Arcane, because you don't have death dealers, we've lost the max mag. Monomyth, self-explanatory. I would probably not use this if this skill that I will show you was not bugged. I would go back to death dealers if a certain skill was not bugged, and I will show you which skill it is. Ancient Grace, weapon and spell damage. The reason why we're running so much weapon and spell damage is because in our CP we are running literally all defense CP, right? You still have enough damage this patch, okay? You still have enough damage with Monomyth, Mythic, and all weapon and spell damage in light armor with Major Breach. You have enough damage, right? Do not worry about that. So that is the build. Now, let's get into the skills. Now, this is very, very important. The new Mythic gives you major protection on the back bar in combat, right? If you put Blinding Flare on and you put it on the front bar, you will have a 100% uptime on major protection, right? This is huge. This is a huge, huge, huge thing, right? What I will say though, right, this is the skill that's bugged. Bound Aegis is bugged currently. I would most likely not use Monomyth or put Flare on the front bar if Bound Aegis was not bugged. The reason that it's bugged, right, and I've reiterated this to Zenimax, I've sent them numerous tickets, it can randomly stop working. The 8% max magicka you get, it always works, basically, right, it always works, but the minor resolve and the minor protection can randomly disappear in combat, and it's astronomical how much damage you take, right? The clips that you're going to see after this, right, I had Bound Aegis on and it was not working. It was not working, okay? So please bear that in mind when you see the clips. And not just that, Daedric Protection, right? Reduce your damage taken by 5% while you have a Daedric Summoning ability active. Right, well guess what? Bound Aegis, right? You lose the 5% on minor protection, you lose the 3k resistance, right? And you lose 5% there. So you've lost a total of 10% damage reduction plus minor resolve. It's insane. Yes, you get it back if you have Ward back on, but when that goes down, no, you've just lost 10% damage reduction. And you know, don't use Bound Aegis until it's fixed. Do not use it. That's why I'm using Monomyth and Blinding Flare, right? This is still very strong though, and if I think it's better than Bound Aegis, I will let you know. But I don't know yet because I can't test Bound Aegis properly. So I'm using something that is guaranteed good. Okay? So Crystal Fragments, self-explanatory. Regenerative Ward. Now, reason being I'm going Regen Ward is because it costs less. It gives you a heal. And it gives you sustain on stamina and magicka. Okay? The reason that I'm not using Hardened Ward is one, because it lost its heal. I don't need to play with Regen Ward, I don't need the heal on it. I've done it for years without the heal. I'm just making this build more user friendly for everybody. Because everyone's so used to using a heal on Ward, this build will allow you to still have a heal on Ward. but you haven't lost any shield size if you use 2 shields. And I'll explain why in a second. Shock and Soul, self-explanatory. What I will say is, since now you have minor endurance, you don't need Druid's Resurgence. Use the heal. Use the heal affix. Oh my god, it's phenomenal outnumbered in 1v1. Use the heal, please. It's the best thing on Shocking Soul by a mile. Right? Endless Fury. I just really like it. It's up to you if you want to use it. By all means, put Mage Light on here if you want Mage Light. It would actually go very well with Monomyth, because Mage Light would actually give you Prophecy. Is it Prophecy? It would be. I can't remember which one it is, but it would give you more critical chance basically. So if you want to do that, by all means do that. I just like Endless Fury. Ice Comet, again, you don't have to use Ice Comet. You could use Dawnbreaker. You could use Overload. Completely up to you. Very, very flexible. Okay. Now, Haunting Curse, self-explanatory. Need I say more? Dampen Magic. This is where you do not lose the overall shield size, but gain a heal on your ward. Now, if you look at Dampen Magic, which is the alternative morph to Light Armor Shield, you basically get 6% increased damage absorption per Light Armor 1. I'm currently using 5 Light Armor, so that's 30% increase in shield size, which is more or less the same as Hardened Ward. Okay, so you've basically got exactly the same shield size from last patch, because Regen Ward is the same size as Harness Magicka, and Dampen Magic is roughly the same size as Hardened Ward, but you've gained a heal on Regen Ward. So you haven't really lost any shield size if you want to stack shields. What I will say is though, this build's very flexible, right? If you want to use, right, Vigor instead of Dampen Magic, right, I would swap Swift for medium Wretched Vitality, right? Medium Wretched Vitality, and you will have enough sustain for Vigor, especially with minor endurance. If you feel as if you want more health and more sustain, right, I would most likely recommend going Orzagers. Okay, but that's all down to individual preference. This build's actually quite flexible if you wanted to do that. Degen in Streak actually might not be the best skill here. It might actually be Ball of Lightning, because of how much damage it projects, especially with Spec Ball. So it's up to you if you want to use Streak or Ball of Lightning. Complete flex spot. Whatever is best for you, use it. And Healing Mode. You do not have to use Healing Mode here. You can use Dark Deal. You can use Dark Exchange here. And then what I would do is most likely put the Mage Mundus on, which would increase your healing, it would increase your damage, and it would increase your ward size. Okay? Now, one thing I will say is Monomyth gives you minor vitality on the back bar. So Dampen Magic will actually be bigger than Hardened Ward, because you've got minor vitality on the back bar. Okay? That's one thing that I will reiterate as well. Plus you've got Swift, which is 10%, and you've got Major Protection, so that's 20%. Okay? So you are tanky on this build, and you've still maintained your heal. Okay? That is the skills and the build. Now let's get into the CP. The CP is very, very important, okay? Because with how much critical damage is thrown about in double specky bows, I would highly recommend keeping this CP. Right? I would highly recommend it. Okay? So, drastic changes from last patch. Drastic changes, okay? We are no longer running in open world any offensive CP other than arcane supremacy. I am sorry, but you just cannot do it. In light armor, you just cannot do it. If you're in medium armor, right, if you're in medium armor, you might be able to put one offensive CP on. You might be able to. I just like to be a little bit, well, a lot tankier. This patch, everything hits really hard, so I've had to compensate somewhere, and this is it. Okay? Arcane Supremacy. Self-explanatory. Max Mag. Duelist rebuff. Reduces your damage taken by single target attacks. The damage coming from Spec Bow in cap surprise attack is astronomical. You need Duelist rebuff on. Plus dots. You just need it. I'm sorry, you need it on. And resilience. Oh my good god, right. Do not, under any circumstances, take this CP off this patch. Don't do it. No matter what anyone else says, do not take this off. Okay? Major Force is running Rife. This will help. Ironclad, I'm sorry, you just can't take it off. How are you supposed to take this off? Tell me. There's so much damage going about, right? Do not take it off. Okay? Right? You might be able to get away with Duelist rebuff. You might be able to, right? But I wouldn't recommend it. I would not recommend it. Yes, you might not have astronomical damage, but I'm sorry. If you're not subclassing this patch and you want to play a true mag SORC, you're just going to have to accept that your raw power is not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. And if somebody kills you, right, it's not due to a lack of skill, it's due to the lack of serious raw power. Okay? Don't take it, don't think, oh my god, he's killed me. Don't, I mean, you shouldn't think that anyway, it's just a game, but, like, honestly, the raw power difference is astronomical. So don't be disheartened, right? We're gonna have to compromise somewhere, and this is where I've had to compromise. Okay. Fortified. I'm sorry. You need fortified on. You need to be tankier. Boundless vitality. You know, health. Far too good to give up because you don't have death dealers, so you need more health. Different from last patch, you don't need relentlessness because you've got major protection 100% of the time. And Pain's Refuge. Again, just do not take it off. Don't take it off. And Bastion. Self-explanatory. Increases your shield size. I genuinely do now think that this needs a buff. This needs a buff, right? The damage done to shields doesn't need a buff, but the actual buff to the increase in shield size, it needs a buff. This should be at like 30%. If you're hellbent, Zenimax, on not having a heal on Hardened Ward, you need, especially with subclassing now, right? You need to buff this. You need to buff this. No ifs, no buts, buff this CP. Right? Now, the gameplay that you're going to be seeing next is a variety of different builds, okay? I've been incredibly busy recently with work and everything that I've only had limited time to play this build, but let me tell you something now. This build is the strongest build that I have tested in open world so far. And I've get clips on weaker builds that had bound Aegis on, which is bugged. So please take that into consideration when you see the clips. I'm not using this exact build. I'm using an old, well, nowhere near as good build. So if I can do it on a nowhere near as good build, I can do it definitely on this build. Plus, this build is incredibly flexible. Like, there's nothing stopping you from taking Swift off and putting heavy armor on and using Vigor. You know, like, there's nothing stopping you from doing this. I am giving you a very good baseline for true Mag-Sork, and it will always be the case on my channel. I will give you a very, very good flexible baseline for true Mag-Sork. Always come to this channel if you want a true Mag-Sork build, regardless of the patch, regardless of the struggle. I will give you a very, very good baseline Mag-Sork to use. That's very, very flexible, and you can use different sets, different skills, because the baseline will be very strong. Okay, so mess about with the skills. This is what I've created for you, okay? Spent millions of gold trying to create this, test things, and finding bugs, Zenimax. Please fix Bound Aegis, because I can't give my viewers a build that could potentially be stronger with Bound Aegis. I'm giving them something that's guaranteed to work. So please fix that, Zenimax. And what I will say is, the Atronach Wonderstone, you absolutely need this on. Ghastly Eyeball, and I'm a Breton. Breton's far too good to give up. Never, ever, ever take Breton off. I remember Felon, also a very good fellow YouTuber, he also thinks Breton's too good to give up this patch with its resistance and sustain. I think Breton right now is far better than High Elf. It's just better, right? It's the best race to use on a mag build right now because it gives you resistance, okay? But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed watching this, because I've tried many different things and this is without a doubt the strongest baseline that I can give everybody this patch. Just accept that you're not going to be as strong because of the nerfs and subclass, you know. If there's a way for me to subclass in the future, I will provide it to you. But if you look at the skills with Mag-Sork, everything that we have is in every single skill line. I hope Zenimax actually changes these 3 skills and puts them in here. That means that you can swap Daedric Summoning for a different skill line. Then I would potentially do that. I could potentially do that, and if I don't want to do that, I will tell my subscribers to subclass for the extra raw power. But anyway, that's the build. And what you will see is gameplay next on even weaker builds. So I hope you enjoy, and please leave a comment below when and if you try the build, to let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoy. I'll catch you in the next one.